And guess what? We're back for more. Hooray! Be honest, I'm gonna level with you here. I'm kind of waiting for this to be over just as much as you are, because I don't want this on my iPod anymore. I downloaded the GM, I've used it for about a weekend, and it's barely even finished. But let's go over some of the honorable mentions, some of the things that, are technically there, but not quite as important. So first thing is Spotlight has moved. It is now on the home screen, and if I make another app, if I make another row of apps, I can show you. It works on any screen now. So there you go. Of course, we have the same Spotlight lag that we always had, except it's made a bit worse in iOS 7. And, made a bit more noticeable even on the newer devices. Like, I even remember Spotlight lag on... My mom has a, 4th generation iPad, the newest model of iPad, A6X, the highest, iOS device, until September 20th at least, the, best specs you can get on an iOS device until the iPhone 5S, and even that has Spotlight lag. So the only way the iPhone 5S will really impress me is, well, it has a few camera modes which kind of impress me, but the one way it'll really impress me is if they finally get rid of the freaking Spotlight lag. We also, of course, have a more translucent UI, as you've noticed. And let's go into settings, actually, because here's where we can find a few less noticeable changes. So as you can see, it is all colorful and flat, the flatter UI that we talked about quite extensively in the part 1 of this. So here is Control Center. You can enable it to work in some apps, I guess. Oh no, I thought you could make it not work in certain apps, but I guess not. So, like, as you can see, I'm swiping up here, and I can't access Control Center because I have it disabled. But when I have it enabled, I can access it. And, of course, access on lock screen, you can toggle that on and off. So if you don't want it on your lock screen, you don't have to have it on your lock screen. This is getting quite obvious, really. General, we have, of course, About, Software Update, just to prove that I am on iOS 7. iOS 7, your software is up to date. Well, not for long, because I think the official version of iOS, except I probably won't get that, because I have the GM and it's pretty much the same. Siri, as I said, you have a new male voice, and female voice, even. Are you a man or a woman?
Is this relevant?
Not at all.
I didn't find any places matching not at all.
So freaking useless. Swear to God. Anyway, Spotlight, that works the same. Text size. That's new. You could kind of do this in the older versions of iOS, but not to as much of a degree as you can. Also, I just noticed another thing I'll get back to, but you can make it this big so that it won't even fit on the entire screen. I usually like to have it about here because, I am going blind. And another thing is you can actually kind of swipe back to get things. So, for example, as you can see, I swipe back and I get that. Accessibility, we've got a few new accessibility features. For example, large type. It's pretty much the same thing, except it's gone into accessibility. Really? Really? I don't get it at all. Whatever, but, okay. Bold text, you can turn that on and off. This is actually the boldest it goes. This is actually, it's not usually this bold. It's actually like, I think they call this like Helvetica or something like that, but it's usually not this bold. I just turned it to be this bold because I like bold. I like things to be bold. And increased contrast. If you know what iOS 7 is like on the iPhone 4, it's pretty much like this. So, as you can see, Spotlight, it kind of gets rid of the translucency, which I kind of like, but kind of don't like. I don't know. like, it almost makes it look a bit more goofy, but at the same time, I don't know. I almost like it a bit better without the transparency, but maybe it's just because Apple's, like, touting transparency as this huge feature that you have to have, and it will make you really want to upgrade to iOS 7. Let's just turn contrast off so you can kind of get the difference. Contrast off, contrast on. You get the idea. Also, something you might have noticed is the new multitasking thing. First of all, it's now more card look, and, you know, we can swipe up to dismiss things. Like, for example, and you can also do 2 things at once. Or even 3 things at once. Definitely don't do 4 things at once. That will make the universe explode. You can also, as you can see, if we go into Safari and go into Landscape, you'll see the app switcher now works in Landscape, which is neat, but, you know, yeah, actually, no, that is neat, because then you won't have to worry about, like, rotation lock actually is, and, you know, since rotation lock is in Control Center, it'll actually rotation lock in Landscape. So that is nice. Let's just go back into settings. Reduce motion. This is something I forgot to mention, and, well, to be fair, it's not really a huge noticeable thing, but, seems to not be working. Do I have it disabled? No, I guess not. Odd. Maybe it just doesn't work over AirPlay or something. But it's supposed to reduce the motion. Or it's supposed to, have some kind of parallax thing. Maybe if I go into the wallpapers, which I'll get into in a bit. But we also have on-off labels, just because the on-off switches are a bit different, and therefore, I guess, need labels. You can now connect hearing aids, which I don't know if you could do that in iOS 6, but now it has its own proprietary app. Subtitles and captioning, LED flash, all of these things, and switch control, which I can't really figure out how to... Like, I know what it does, but I don't really get the point of it. So as you can see, it just turns on switches, and it just automatically cycles through them. Be honest, I don't recommend this for anyone. Okay, good, it's off now. And of course we have the accessibility shortcuts and the home screen speed and all of that and the doodads and the whatnots. We have date and time, keyboard, all of this. We can reset it, which I'm not going to bother doing that, except because, you know, iOS 7 is glitchy. I don't think it's gonna make much of a difference if I do that. And let's go into sounds, because we have a few new ringtones. So here's the default one. Actually, let me, I'm gonna mute my computer again, because it seems to have that sort of echo. We have a few other ones. I don't know why, but that one kind of reminds me of the Nokia intro. You know, like, dun 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 dun. Yeah. We have waves. You get the idea. This. Okay, you got the idea. We also have classic ones, which is nice. I may as well turn the mute off, so that, because, you know, you probably know what these are already. Blues. Motorcycle. You know, if you really want to make your iPhone sound like a motorcycle, bark. If you really want to make your iPhone sound like a dog for some reason. I'm just gonna set it back to my traditional Mac, my traditional Mac hating ringtone, I guess. Remember that if you're old enough. Let's go into messages, because there are a few new alerts. Bamboo. Chord. Circles. I don't know, maybe you could use that one for Google Plus, because you know it has to do with circles. Shut up. Input. Popcorn. I have no idea what relevance that has to popcorn. It just sounds like a bunch of random notes on a synthesizer. And speaking of synthesizer, pulse, hello, for some reason. And we also have these classic ones again, but they're a bit different. So for example, here is the, actually, for example, here is the tritone one that you're probably used to. You probably heard this one at least once in your lifetime. See how it sounds a bit different? Let me play it again. Also, another testament to this. Let's try the alert one. Notice how it sounds a lot more echoey and, you know, I don't know, kind of different. Now, that's also another theme of kind of like kid-friendly. I don't know. I think they're trying like a futuristic thing, but it really, really doesn't work. Let's do wallpapers, because there are a few of these. First of all, there are some live wallpapers, which are interesting. So as you can see, they're a bit live, and they look a bit Android-like. Bet you didn't see that coming. And here's another one, just to prove that there are other ones. Here are the new static wallpapers. So, let's just look at this one real quick. Does this one allow me to do the parallax thing? Answer, I don't think so, because this is a static thing. Actually, here's one where the static image should be pretty noticeable. This is, a picture of some flowers, I guess. Why am I saying I guess? I know what it is. Why did it not save? Oh, now it saves. It just, I don't know. I don't know. Perhaps it's not working. There's a surprise. Something in iOS that isn't working. You can also, panoramic photos are supposed to have more of like an effect when you move your phone or your iPod or whatever, but I really can't figure out how to enable that. But yeah, you get the idea. There are some more wallpapers. For example, I'll just show this one real quick, and maybe this one. Actually, no, I'll show one more, because there's a new feature. Notice how the text is different. Alright, I'm gonna enable this. And it actually kind of changes the UI of everything. And it even, like, gives you sort of a red control center and, sort of red notification center and all of that. So it really kind of changes the UI of iOS 7 when you have different wallpapers enabled, which is neat. Except for the fact that it all except for the flatter UI. And, you know what, I don't think there's much, well actually no, there's one more feature I think is kind of worth noting. Let's go into FaceTime. You can see my email addresses. Ah, man, I'm scared. You can see my emails. But you can go to your blocked list. And it actually has sort of a blacklisting function. Or whitelisting, whatever it's called. Where it will actually whitelist numbers, which is lovely. I think, like for example, you know, this will be probably more useful if you have an iPhone. You know, let's say you have a telemarketer, you know, harassing. Well, not really harassing, but nagging you and, you know, making you buy our stupid crap. No, buy our stupid crap. Hey, buy my stupid crap too. You know, you can block all three of them with just this feature, which is lovely. There used to be a blacklisting app in the App Store, but it cost something like $5, which I thought was outrageous. I shouldn't have to pay for security. You know? It's just, you know, ludicrous. And, you know, a few other things, and it all is very flat, and all of those different things. And that's the problem, really, is, okay, I like the features. I like, you know, I like the new Spotlight search, for example. I like Control Center. I like the new Notification Center. You know, I like, iTunes Radio is okay. You know, I like the functionality. I love the fact, you know, you can zoom into video, as I mentioned in the earlier thing, which would be really good for my videos. The problem is this new flat UI. It has sort of a kid-friendly design to it, and I don't like that. I'm 14. I don't want to be seen, you know, parading around with this. And, you know, you can kind of get wallpapers that can take away from it, but still, I just don't like it. And the new ringtones and all of this, and, you know, I used to love iOS 7, but when the iPhone event came out and they, like, demoed all these new ringtones and these new wallpapers, it kind of dawned on me how bad iOS 7 really was. And, you know, I just really don't like it. Oh, and did I mention it's horribly glitchy? For example, you saw all the problems that this was having, even though I think half that might have been AirServer. Like, when I went into voice memos, it screwed up my AirPlay and all of those things. And, you know, it's altogether not very, altogether not very smooth. And, of course, the Spotlight lag, of course. It's just not polished, you know, and you know what, Apple? You have no excuses. You have no excuses for this. You've had 6 betas and a GM, and you haven't fixed all of well, you did fix some of their bugs, because if you go back to Beta 1, I had this when it was in Beta 1, and it was glitchy. I mean, seriously. It was like, you know, official apps would crash on you. And to be honest, that's probably not too far off in iOS 7 GM, but seriously, man, you've had 6 betas, a GM, and, you know, or no, you've had, you know, considerable amount of time. You've had, you know, about a year or so to even release the beta. And yet, this is still glitchy. This is still buggy. Why can't I have a stable OS? You've had too long, and you've screwed it up. Man, this is turning into really quite a bit of a rant, but I'm sorry. No excuses, Apple. But also, you know, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, and also, you know, iTunes and radio is okay, but it's just glitchy, it's child-friendly. I'm just going to downgrade back to 6.1.3 right after this video, because I really don't like it. Anyway, this part has turned more into a rant, but I'm sorry. That's just how I feel about iOS 7. Anyway, bye.